Fair
Ads
enough.
on
Well,
YouTube, man. Getting out of
we
hand.
will. We might as well start it this way then. I guess
Sure.
so. It's caught me off guard thinking about an introduction now.
I was
But
gonna say, do you want to do like a
to do an
Tom's
introduction of some
YouTube
description.
introduction, or
It's not quite a Tom's YouTube introduction. It was just
I feel like if it's a Tom's YouTube introduction, we should all turn around and make a cup of coffee and then come back.
Yeah.
The
yes.
signature
Coffee
move.
has coffee has been the way of doing this.
Yeah, he'll be there. Right, guys. I'm gonna give you an update. This is coffee.
It's Here's a coffee. Yeah. Hang on, do we just talk with the mug there? Okay. Hi guys. So yeah, the app's still not done yet.
It's 3:43 a.m. I'm getting an early start.
Yeah.
Talking
Oh
And then
about
man.
I'm
coffee,
gonna go down a rabbit hole of YouTube and come back to you. I'll start coding at 8.
there's one other YouTuber that always, always, always brings up the coffee. You ever watch Network Shack?
I
No,
don't think so.
Check him out.
I'm gonna
he,
have to check him out.
yeah,
Just for the coffee.
Yeah.
yeah. Every time he says to the audience, about, "So get yourself a cup of coffee, and here we go."
I got an addiction. You just
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
careful.
Oh, so nothing quite having a coffee to start it off. Now I don't have a coffee,
Good
I don't
tactic.
feel empty trying to introduce a video like
That's it.
that. But guys, thank you for this. I just thought it would be interesting to have a couple of indie developers basically to we've each done stuff and played around with Apple things. We're not professionals, but it's interesting to see everybody just talk through what's going on, isn't it?
Yeah, sure, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because there was I don't know if you heard, there was an Apple event a couple of weeks back, and
Didn't hear
they
about that.
said some stuff about things to do with Apple.
Was that the
They
one with Apple
did.
Intelligence?
Yeah. Well, no, to be fair, there was a movie premiere video, but attached to that, they introduced some stuff to do with technology.
I don't know how you thought about that. That was a bit like I love a Craig Federighi moment.
Mm,
I don't know. It kind of felt like weird, like having like an ad
it
at
was
the
a bit
start.
funny.
I mean, effectively, I mean, it was a good ad, but
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just felt a
yeah.
bit
Yeah.
weird, like tacking an ad onto like Dub Dub. You know what I mean?
It was true, yeah. Although I've
Yeah.
heard a review of it, apparently it's an amazing movie.
I mean, I booked it. I didn't even know it was an Apple movie,
Mm,
but I'm gonna go check it out.
mm.
It looks good. Yeah, apparently it's
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good.
No, apparently it's really good because it's the same guy who did, I don't know if you liked the film. I haven't actually seen it yet, mind you. I've seen like the first 10 minutes and then obviously I have a child, so I got distracted. So, but basically, Top Gun Maverick, you know how everybody was so how good it was because they filmed inside the actual jets.
Yeah.
Apparently, basically, they did on the same thing but F1 cars.
Okay, that's
Oh,
pretty cool.
yeah.
So they
I'll
basically
tell you what,
filmed
I
in the
watched.
cars.
That's going to be sick because I watched Maverick and it was a great film. I
Mm.
haven't watched Top Gun. I admit I should watch it.
What?
I haven't watched it. I know
Nah.
that's the reaction. I'm
Okay,
sure
Uh,
other
right.
people are
So
watching this. They're probably
bypass
going to
this.
say
Forget WWDC. We're watching Top Gun. Let's stream it
right now
somehow.
just to see my reaction to
can we please don't?
it.
Okay, cool. And then we're going to take a trip to Sweden. We're going to tie Patrick down with his eyes open, and we're going to watch Top Gun together.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Basically, just America strange with eyes.
So there's a few things that we could talk through of what happened actually in WWDC. I think the major one that we should probably talk about first is how do you feel about Workout Buddy?
Oh, you want to
I'll tell
begin
you
with
what.
workout buddy?
I think I actually do use Apple Fitness Plus.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I I don't have an Apple Watch though that supports the latest uh, OS, so I'm not
Mm,
sure. I mean, obviously my phone does. Maybe I can use it through there. I haven't actually
Hmm.
tried it, but I think
mm.
it's the voices of Workout Buddy or the voices of the trainers. I heard.
Oh,
There's certain
right.
trainers you get in the
All right.
sessions. It's their voices. It's not like a random. I don't know if that's the case
Oh,
for all of them,
okay.
but I
Don't
don't
know.
know, man. It was a I'd forgotten about that actually since. the event because
Mm.
we're filming this. How long has it been? Like 2 weeks since
It's
Dub
been
Dub?
2 weeks roughly,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
But
I was actually looking forward to some Fitness Plus, changes. I
mm,
wasn't expecting Fitness Buddy,
mm,
um, but I don't know. I think it's a neat idea.
mm.
It's a bit cheesy,
Yeah,
yeah. But
it was too cheery for me. I understand why they were doing it. I'm like, yeah, keep
Yeah.
going and stuff. I want something harsher.
I
I
mean,
want to be
imagine
able to
it just
change it.
whispering in your ear, being like, "You're pathetic."
Yeah,
Get down on the ground, you maggot!
yeah,
That should totally be a voice
I
like
need
Army
like,
Sergeant.
yeah, we need an Army Sergeant Navy SEAL edition of Fitness Buddy.
Yeah.
Just to sort of crush
Just
your
screaming in your
self-worth
ear.
and make you do more.
Yeah, and you're paying for that.
Yeah.
You've got it in that sweet, crisp
Mm.
AirPods Pro 2
Yeah, yeah,
Navy
yeah.
SEAL screech
Full
into your ear.
spatial audio humiliation.
Yeah. So it sounds like everyone else can hear it as well to make you more self-conscious.
Now, what was your highlights though? So what was the thing that you were especially like?
I'll tell you what, and it's going to sound real basic. We're developing, so we're probably focused on developing stuff in the
Yeah.
develop conference. But I want to start it off, maybe somewhat controversial. Liquid glass.
It's a divisive subject.
That's a good point. It is a divisive subject. So I love it. I think
Mm,
it's great. We've had the same. I was very surprised they even brought this up in the conference that it's been, the same design since iOS 7.
Yeah.
We all know that. Everyone knows that. But I was surprised to actually hear Craig say that in the conference. It has been the same since iOS 7. They've had iterations, but the design itself, and it's true. I've been waiting for a redesign for such a long time, but I'm one of these
mm,
people that will literally change their wallpaper like multiple times a day. So I love like changing it up. So it got to the point where yeah, you can change the wallpaper and stuff, but like
mm,
you couldn't change your icons that much.
mm.
You can add a widget, and that was a big change when you can add widgets. What was
Yeah.
that? iOS? Well, iOS
Oh, that's a good
15,
question.
26. So it's going to be different. Was it iOS 10 or 11?
It was a
No,
couple
it
of years,
wasn't.
no, it was a few years ago. It was
Yeah.
three
It was
years
15
iOS
ago.
or 15 or
15,
16.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 15.
Something like that.
Yeah.
People will say in the comments which
Mm,
one it was,
Yeah.
but it
yeah.
was yeah, that was great. That was a big change. That was exciting.
Mm,
That actually appealed to a lot of Android fans who they might want to come over to iOS. So now I was somewhat disappointed last year because I was really excited about the Apple Intelligence stuff, but for me, I really wanted a redesign. And I was somewhat like, okay, well, we've got all this Apple Intelligence stuff coming, so this is going to be great. I'm going to make up for that, no problem. Obviously, that didn't work out. But this year, we still don't have that, but we got the redesign. And,
mm,
maybe whether they were going to release the redesign this year or not, you could think that maybe they weren't originally going to. And it's there to sort of cushion the blow of the lack of Apple Intelligence stuff.
mm,
But they did say they've been working on it for about 3 years, which I think coincides with Vision OS, right? And then they've
mm.
got that kind of design aesthetic down that they wanted to bring across to iOS. So yeah, no, Liquid Glass I think is really really good. There's a lot of photos online, especially on Twitter, of people saying that maybe it's too clear here and there, but it is beta one, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm,
actually using the device, seeing a static image, of a background that's really complex, full of colors and a noisy sort of background with the control center over it. These are the kind of pictures you keep seeing, and yeah,
mm,
it doesn't look as crisp. You can't make everything out that well. You can, but
mm,
you have to think about it more than you really should have to on a control center that you're supposed to quickly flick down and select something. But in the hand, it's actually not as bad as a lot of tweets are making it out to be. I think it's actually really good,
mm.
and it will probably get better with time.
Yeah. I'm rocking iPad OS 26 on the iPad we're recording on. So,
Mm.
Mm.
and I have to say, I haven't really thought that much about it. The redesign, I just use it as usual. So
Mm.
It can't be that bad since I don't notice it that much.
Yeah, true. Actually, that's probably like a good hallmark, isn't it, of it it's working.
But yeah, I mean that's one of the
Mm.
things. I struggle to say Craig because obviously I'm used to saying Craig, but the American audience, Craig. He mentioned in I think it was an interview with Joanna Stern that I think one of the questions she asked, it might have been someone else, said, why is it taking so long to get this redesign? And he basically said because they would if they did such a drastic redesign, all the time or maybe much sooner, people would say, well, what's happened to my home screen? Where's my
Mm.
control center gone? So they have to be so careful about the actual redesigns they're doing because there's such a huge user base that even a small take 2% of their users don't like it and say, oh, I hate this, where's it gone? That's actually a
Mm.
huge amount of people. um so they have to be careful. So yeah, it has taken them a long time to get here, and maybe it should have been sooner, but I get where he's coming from.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be gradual, isn't it? Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's kind of a fun. I get, I kind of get stuck with these things because it feels like a lot of stuff that they've done recently, of the with when you look at it, you're like, technically, this is incredible. Like this is genuinely like to have this liquid glass effect, the animation and the way that it reflects the light and all these things, and it's like it is like liquid glass, like like this incredible technical achievement to be able to do this. But it's like, but for the average user, it's like, it's like it's a new control. Like, oh, I had a bar here, and now it's this thing on the side, and it's like it doesn't necessarily change too much. And like Patrick said, like you didn't notice it really, that you didn't really think about it that much. But it's
No.
like it's a big technical thing, and I feel like this is like a lot of stuff. I mean, probably maybe it's one of those things that all tech companies are going into, but it's getting to that point where all these things they're doing are kind of like technically they're incredible. Like, oh, what, my phone is 5% faster. Like that's amazing to squeeze out of a processor. But for an average user, it's like, yeah, it's a new. I'm having to pay another grand for another phone, or I've just had to look at my home screen because it's changed. But yeah, no, it does look cool. It'll be interesting to use it because I'm too afraid to get the beta just yet. But it'll be interesting to
That's
see what it's
probably a
like.
wise thing. It's
Probably, yeah.
I think, yeah, you're exactly right. It's if you're looking at it from a tech perspective, it's we will probably a lot of the viewers of this video will, and people in the tech space, you're
Mm,
appreciating that that animation, the way they're handling this glass UI. But to the average user, the share button is slightly clear now,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
or you can choose clear app icons if you want to.
yeah. Mm,
So those subtle differences that we might notice, most people would wouldn't notice, or don't even think to notice because they just want to open the camera app. They're not
mm,
focused on how's the icon designed of the camera app. So yeah, I think for the people that are into that kind of thing, me, who's very much uh, loves design. I'm no designer myself, but I can appreciate a good design. Really
mm,
likes the fact that we've got a bit of a refresh because it makes iOS seem a bit more modern rather than that kind of flat design that Johnny introduced.
mm,
Speaking of the camera app specifically, just a little side note, um, it's very uh, iPhone 2G, which I liked. It was kind of a little
mm.
throwback. I think they must have intentionally done that, but it's very, the actual icon for the Photos app is very sort of iOS 1,
Yeah, it's
which I
quite a cool
appreciate.
icon. Quite layered, isn't
It
it?
is a good icon. Yeah, they're all pretty good to be fair. I think that
Mm,
the Xcode one's been a bit controversial because I think it's just a black
yeah,
hammer, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah. Basically, yeah. They took away.
Yeah.
Did they take away the hammer? They took away the hammer.
No, I think the
It was
hammer's there,
just.
but it's just kind of like
Oh no,
a
they took
black.
away the rest of the icon bit, didn't they? At the drawing frame,
Yeah.
didn't they? Yeah, they did, didn't
So
they? Yeah. That's funny, yeah. Yeah, it was a bit
yeah,
of a mixed
that
review
was
of
a
these
bit.
things. It's funny how these little things they get picked up, don't they? And it's just probably not
Yeah.
necessarily that big of a deal, but in like X space, it's like it's a huge
Oh yeah,
thing,
it's like hyper
huge
focused.
discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've got millions of people like granularly, is that a word? Picking it apart like bit by bit.
Mm,
You could have someone at Apple that's worked on the latest version of Xcode, like, this is great, but ChatGPT integration, all this stuff, which we'll talk about in a minute. but
Mm.
everyone's just looking at the icon and going,
Yeah, yeah,
like me
exactly.
being
Yeah,
like, that's
the
terrible.
icon's rubbish.
Yeah. What about all the stuff
Never
we just
using
did?
Xcode
Nah.
again.
Yeah, that's it. But so Tom, what was your key takeaways from it?
My one. Oh, I had a couple. My my one that I really liked was Spotlight
Yes,
changing
on the
on
Mac.
Mac. Okay, because I use Spotlight a lot. I very rarely ever click on an icon. Like I'm constantly just like command space and type in what I want. And that's how
Oh,
I
me too.
navigate through my Mac basically. Which, yeah, if you can add extra things to that, then that's brilliant. And the shortcuts bit, I didn't necessarily, it's the lazy side of me. I didn't necessarily like the amount of setup he had to do in the shortcuts app. And he was like, I've made a shortcut for pages where I type in these two letters and it gives me a contact section or whatever it is. And then all these little sequences that you'd set up. If you had time to really sit there with your Mac for a day and go like, oh, I really do this. I want to make a shortcut for that. Then that's cool. But that was a little bit, and it was
Yeah.
great that they had the potential. But yeah, just generally being able to use shortcut that much more and like navigate files and then online, offline, like actually having it inside an app and you're using Spotlight to do stuff. Like that was all, that's much better. Yeah,
I think
that's
one of the
much
great
better.
examples was like I can't remember who was doing the demo, but they wrote like an email in Spotlight. That
Mm,
was quite cool.
Yeah,
Where he just said something, command space and then send email to
mm,
recipient, subject line, and then body all through Spotlight, which is
yeah.
great. Those little tweaks are such a good idea, actually, because, maybe I think Brian Tom was actually speaking about the use of Spotlight in one of his recent podcasts. And he likes the traditional sort of file structure where he would
mm,
click on Finder and then he would go in and find all those files. And then some others members of the podcast were saying that they have no file structure because they just use Spotlight search for everything. So that's
Okay,
really
yeah.
interesting. So for those kind of people, then they kind of discussed it being like almost like a generational thing,
Mm,
where like maybe our generation and sort of older millennials would still use that sort of file structure, go in the Finder and click it, but the younger generation don't.
mm,
From what they've seen anyway. I don't know how factually true that is, but they use
mm,
Spotlight. It looks like they use Spotlight a lot more. They just chuck everything everywhere because what doesn't matter. They never go in
mm.
there. They just search for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, no, that's cool. And then just having multiple copies of on your clipboard as well. Because I know a few people use apps for that.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah.
obviously having that inside Spotlight as well, it just makes it easy, doesn't it?
It will be interesting to see what happens with those apps then. That must have
Mm.
been.
Yeah, it's got to be bad. It's got to be a bit of a punch in the gut when you've had an app that's successful doing all these things, and then Apple suddenly just go, "Oh, hey, look at this. Here's a new feature." It's like, no, that's
I'll tell
my
you what it made me
business.
think of. Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, you got obviously the developers who were making those wanted that as a feature, so built
Mm.
it. Um, yeah, so I wonder if it would ever be on the back of the developers who made those apps on the back of their mind that, people want this. We can
Mm.
see that from people downloading my app. Maybe Apple one day will actually build this in. Kind of like,
Maybe.
so when we had Harmony Apps, we built Harmony Journal,
Yeah,
Mm.
which Patrick is now hosting. If anyone hasn't tried Harmony Journal yet, give it a go.
yeah, it's still up.
It's on the App Store. And but they introduced Apple Pencil support. Well, actually,
Mm.
they introduced it being on the iPad for a start,
Mm.
and then with that was Apple Pencil support, and that was one of those things when we were developing that app that I thought that's weird that Apple don't have that.
Mm.
And then I thought they don't have it yet. They will,
They will,
which is
always
weird
will.
that they don't. So it's
Yeah.
this was the year that they introduced it. But yeah, if anyone hasn't tried Harmony Journal or wants a journal app and maybe doesn't want to use Apple as well,
Mm.
Harmony Journal,
Yeah,
give it a
yeah.
go.
Yeah, it was a good little project that. I enjoyed doing that together. That
Yeah,
was
It was
fun.
a
me
good
too.
project.
Mm.
I'll tell you
Go
what,
on,
the best thing
Patrick.
that I loved about that was the logo, which most people probably turn off, like the loading screen. I spent so
Yeah, that's
long on it writing the Harmony Journal thing out. I kept
it
that
was a
code
cool
for other
effect.
stuff.
Yeah, it was a
It
cool
was. I mean,
effect.
yeah, even
It was
I
good
myself
animation.
turned it off. because you don't want to see it every time you open the app, but it was cool. It was fun. Maybe I'll post a GitHub to that because it was actually quite simple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go for it, man. That's good. It'd be good to get out there. That's a cool bit of
yeah,
code.
yeah, yeah.
Go on, Pat. What
I
was
love it.
your? Did you have a highlight, or is one of us
Yeah.
talking about?
Well, I watched the keynote 100% as a developer and not a user. So
Mm.
the absolute biggest highlight for me, since I'm bullied in Sweden, I don't have Apple Intelligence at all yet. uh, the on-device AI for us
Mm.
developers. I'm looking forward to that so much. They will skies will be the limit. I mean,
Mm.
we will be able to do everything with AI that we couldn't do before without implementing like tokens and a lot of stuff that I don't want to waste my time with. I pay to get the AI app up and running, and nobody uses it. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
It would feel much better if I can make my own small AI apps, and if I don't get any users, whoop de doo, it doesn't matter.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't invested it. Well, do the AI features work without Apple Intelligence? Do you
Yeah.
I don't
have to have
know.
it turned on?
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't
I think maybe I'm wrong.
think
I think I
that's
heard
it.
somewhere that you have to have Apple Intelligence turned on for it to work. But that could be nonsense.
Yeah, but
Hmm.
at the same time, people that are interested in using AI in their apps, like they should have Apple Intelligence on, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Let's have a look. Foundation models.
Yeah,
Because is Apple Intelligence is not available in Sweden, is it, like you said?
yeah. I have
No.
to change my whole phone to English if I want to use
Ah,
Apple
that's true.
Intelligence at all, and
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't feel really worth it
I mean,
from what
not when
I've
it's not
gathered.
not at the moment. Yeah,
No.
yeah, maybe
No.
to switch your entire phone language to a completely different language just for the sake of image playgrounds. Not
Yeah,
really worth it.
Yeah, did you
they
see the interview on that? They did a couple of interviews afterwards. There was one I sent the link onto X actually at the time after I watched it. It was really quite interesting, them opening up about Apple Intelligence.
yeah. I haven't watched it, but
Was it like a WWDC video or was it like a journalist thing?
No,
Or
no, it was an online YouTube thing. So they got interviewed by a couple of YouTube podcasters, sort of thing. I've forgotten the
oh.
name of it offhand, but they basically were asking them like what happened, and it was interesting. It was a shame that they didn't put that into the WWDC, or at least the developer part of it, because
Hmm.
basically they said that they had two models that were for Apple Intelligence.
yeah,
So one was meant to I'm going to butcher this now, I'm going to get this wrong. One was for Siri and one was Apple Intelligence. Or am I getting that wrong? There was two versions anyway. Version two was the more developed of it, and they broadcast at the time version one. And when it came to releasing it, the release dates, they were like, this isn't ready. We need version two. And version two just wasn't going to be user ready by the time that it happened. But their entire take on it was very different to what the other companies are doing, which is, I think it's quite genius, but it might work out good, it might work out bad. But basically, they were saying that obviously at the moment, these companies are just producing chatbots effectively.
yeah,
So you talk
Hmm.
to Grok, you talk to Claude, you talk to Llama, Gemini, whatever, and they talk back to you. Obviously, there's more involved than that, but generally speaking, you talk to them, they interact with you, and they're constantly burning resources to overtake each other, and they last for about a week, and then the next one has their edition out. And
yeah,
so Apple are basically choosing to opt out of that race completely and just say, we want to make the best devices to run AI on. So you want to use Claude, you want to use Gemini. Well, Mac is the computer that you want to use to run those AIs.
Ah, that's a good idea, actually,
And
to be fair.
yeah. And so basically they were just like, we're still working on our model, but the idea of it is to integrate the model into the device, and then you have privacy and you kind of do your own thing with it instead of we need to make the next AI that's better than Gemini. And then that lasts 2 months, and then Gemini comes out with a new feature that they don't have. And then they have to race and overtake that. And it's just a constant. Whereas with this, they're just basically like, we're going to have the hardware that you'll run all of your AI on, and that's it.
It's interesting that tactic though, with their stance on privacy, because will those, will Gemini, will Llama, specifically those two, use private cloud compute? I don't know, because,
No,
no.
they won't.
So,
Which is why I think that's why they've had to use private cloud compute, and then they've had to give you access to OpenAI and say, look, when we do this, you're going to have to share some details with them. And that's
mm.
basically it.
Yeah.
I mean, hot take on that. I think it might have been Brian Tong again who was talking about this. Someone did a survey recently or something like that. They asked their audience, to make Apple Intelligence better, would you share a tiny bit of your information and sort of break that privacy wall a little bit for the sake of making Apple Intelligence better? Most
Mm.
people said, yeah, they
Mm.
would. I mean, I probably would. I mean, it obviously depends on what the data is.
Mm.
There was that little thing a while ago where if you talk to Siri, it was going off to a database and they said it was safe. And then it turned out that someone from some third party company or people were listening to it.
Mm.
That was a bit dodge.
Yeah, just a bit.
But yeah. But depending on what it is, yeah, probably.
Mm. Yeah, it makes
Because we
sense.
know that the people at Apple will be developers like us. So you kind of want to help, we download the betas because we supply feedback, and in that feedback is the logs from your device,
Yeah.
what you've
Mm.
been doing. So yeah, I would be, to be honest, I probably
Mm.
would within reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair
Me too.
enough. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, and I think that's basically what we're going to get. We're going to basically, you can use the AI as whatever you want on the Mac, and then but I think this idea of giving their large language model access, like you said, Patrick, to developers for free,
Yeah.
that's like a huge deal because all that does is it just gives, personally, I think, give it 2 years and the quality of app on the App Store. I know that the quality, generally speaking, was higher than Google, like the Play Store, but with that kind of access, you're going to tie it into every app imaginable.
Yeah.
That you can. Any sort of form of interaction or kind of, yeah, it's just gonna upgrade that quality because you can now, can't you? What? For somebody to have like you had, like a journal app, a simple journal app, which has like 100 users. Well, the developer can now put on there something where it gets interacted just a little bit to help open
Yeah.
up about how they feel about their day or whatever. And it's not really much of a sweat for the developer to do that, but that quality of the app just suddenly goes so much higher, like
Yeah.
10x better than what just a standard journal app is.
That's a big plus for Apple because
Mm.
they have this on-device model. They don't have anything, as good as ChatGPT, Gemini, things like that. But the difference here is that it's on device. That's a huge difference. It's not going off to
Mm.
a server anywhere, nothing. It's all done on device. And in this age of, AI, people are coming to expect these kind of features in apps. So the
Yeah.
fact that they've made this on device model that you can use and it's free means so many more apps can easily have summarization,
Mm.
text
Yeah.
editing and things like this, which users will now come to expect from an app. If you have an app that is about writing text or, analyzing text in some way, it would be weird, from now sort of going forward for it to not have those features. And if it didn't have those features, you probably want it to have those features. So now that they've
Mm.
created that, they've got the on-device model, they're not charging anything for it. That gives Apple a bit of a leg up there
Mm.
because that's
Yeah.
not the case on the other platforms.
I have wanted to do an app for so long. It was one of my first ideas, actually. That would be helping you to get through, to start writing, like tales and stories and stuff. And it would randomly generate like different starters for your stories. Uh, but I put that on the back burner over and over and over again because I want to integrate AI into that so I can make unlimited custom startings, and this will make that a possibility, hopefully.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, see, that's a really good application for it. And you don't have to worry about your online access either. That's the thing, with it, having it
Exactly.
offline on device. Because what was it? There was a week ago, last week, where a few of the was it OpenAI and a couple of others, they went down.
Most of them went down.
Yeah, they all went down.
Did
Whereas
they?
you're not going to
Oh
have
no.
that issue. No signal, and you can still have your app using that. Is just yeah, yeah. It doesn't put a limit to it, does it? Which is much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah,
I
clever
don't
way
know
of
if
doing
any of
it.
the other LLMs or services have an offline mode, do they? I don't know if
I
they
don't.
do.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so. Not that I
They
know of.
definitely don't have
You can do
on-device
it
integration.
on a computer or on a Mac, but it's
Yeah.
it's
Mm,
not that easy to set up.
No, it's definitely not consumer ready in any way.
No.
No.
no, I mean maybe that will be the next thing. Trying to get it. Trying to get. There's a couple advertising, but they're not mainstream.
Mm. That was one of the things, in the last Dub Dub. They
Mm,
started talking about this offline AI. And
mm,
obviously, as everyone knows, AI takes a lot of juice to run.
Yeah.
mm.
They're open service and everything. So if they can get one to run on a phone without that, that's really impressive. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the
From what
average,
I've seen, the parameters are fewer. It's not
mm,
that big of a model, but
Mm.
I think it will be enough for most people, most use cases.
Mm.
yeah. I think someone said it was something like, I don't know what the vocabulary is. I think it was something like the Apple one has 4 million something, and
Yeah.
then the Google one has like 6 billion.
Yeah.
So like it
Yeah.
was like a massive difference. But
Yeah.
the fact that they can do
Mm.
all of the stuff that it can do already, for the most part, like text editing and stuff like that offline,
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that would cover the job for most apps. Like you don't have to go too far to just add that feature, do you? And that's this year's
Yeah.
edition. Like by the time next year comes around, people start introducing it.
Mm.
Hopefully, they would have upgraded it to something far bigger, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
depends.
Something I wanted to more ask really is with the liquid glass design, obviously they've brought that on board, but they've got what is it called? Icon Composer? That's the
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
I'm looking
app, right?
forward to that one. It
Mm.
looks so
That
cool.
looks great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because we've never
Yeah,
really, because I
yeah.
use like a third party, I think it's just a website to sort of create app icons, and I make an image and then I give it to this website and it makes it into an app icon. But this
Hmm.
this makes the icon for you, right? That's the
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Does it make the icon set?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
believe it
so
does.
it makes everything to do with the icon because just the design perspective of having to integrate liquid glass into the whole stuff was going to be an
Mm.
issue, I think. So that does it all for you,
That's
which
pretty
is
cool,
great.
to be fair. That's
Yeah.
got to be fun
Mm.
to play with. If they've made that as user friendly as it looks like they have, that sounds pretty good. But on that as well, so with this liquid glass stuff, have they opened that up to developers to kind of use this liquid glass aesthetic in their own apps? Did I see something about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. But you can't, since you need the beta of Xcode, you can't release anything yet. But I believe
Mm.
you can
Yeah.
start having your fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been
That's quite
people
good.
online like posting their icons done with image app composer.
Well, with the icons, I mean, I've got my obviously app coming out later this year, but it's made that fairly glass-like. To be honest, I haven't done anything to it,
All right.
and it's actually made it. I'll show, but my screen will blur it. But I haven't done anything at all to the icon. The icon is like more of like a white dotty kind of background with multiple colors within the logo, text itself. I haven't changed anything at all. But what I did do was when I created the icon, I think it played with the light and dark mode. from iOS 18. So when you switch to dark mode, it does change the icon to a dark mode version of the icon. So
Mm.
maybe they've sort of played on that architecture to make third-party app icons that haven't used Icon Composer, and they've used that to somehow give it this glass-like look. Because now behind the
Mm.
text in my icon, it is glass. You can see through it. I haven't designed it
Oh,
like
right.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
then.
Apple have.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So
Does
I've
it?
got the glass icons on, and it looks like glass.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Mm.
I wonder if does it add when you've got a glass on it? Because this is one of my things that I was wondering about last year. Because last year I was a little bit disappointed with the whole tint thing that they were
Mm.
doing with all of the icons. Like it's just a little bit. I get it if someone's really into that. Maybe someone who, like, well, who
like Jake.
like a Jake,
Like me. Yeah,
like a
people like
Jake.
me.
But then, like, I didn't quite get why you're going to keep changing like the tint. It's a bit weird. But with the glass effect, maybe that works better. But has it? I haven't seen anyone try that yet. Has anybody? Can you tint the glass effect?
Let's find out. Live
You got it on
demo.
there.
We don't know how this goes. Let's tell you what, let's grab my app out of the
And
like
this is the bug that breaks the phone.
I mean since we've been on FaceTime, it has resprung, I should say, once already. Right, so I've got the glass icons now, and I can see the glass is like molding to the background. It's changing and things like that when I move around. So that's really impressive, to be fair. So now
Mm.
I'm going to change it to tint, and I'm just going to change the colors. Yeah, it tints it.
Yeah, it tints the glass. Yeah, yeah,
Tints it as
yeah.
well.
So that makes
Hmm.
sense now. Okay, if that's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, even for me, like I like changing it up a bit, but I don't really like the look of the tint. I think you need like
Mm.
a specific like background and things to make it really look nice, but I don't have that.
Mm.
But yeah, no, it does, and it must maybe it plays on that fact that there's a version of my icon that has two different a light mode and a dark mode, and it's that's that
Mm.
setup that's allowed them to now transition that to this glass like effect. But I'm keen to play with that. I haven't. Probably not going to put the glass kind of design
Mm.
in my new app, but the fact that they've opened it up enough for us to be able to play with the liquid glass like that is also an achievement in itself, really.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that that goes back again to that's an amazing achievement for us as developers. Users won't necessarily think twice about it, but
Mm.
the fact that I can add it into my app, and they've spent a lot of time probably figuring out how that works. I think it was the team from the guy who created the dynamic island as well.
Yeah, it
Um,
wouldn't surprise me because that dynamic
yeah,
island has a good few effects similar to the liquid glass whole transition bit, doesn't it?
yeah, that team.
Mm.
Shout out to that team. I mean, you're making really good stuff. I mean, that the dynamic island was amazing, and then this stuff, the liquid glass is graphically incredible as well. So
Mm.
yeah,
You know what my first thought with liquid glass was?
what was it?
Oh.
I have to rewrite 28 apps
Got to work with the liquid glass.
to update so they don't look dated.
I
Well,
mean,
I
yeah,
think
there is
pretty
that.
much, to be fair, I think I was watching through some of, like, I have still more WWDC, like, videos to catch up on, but some of the stuff when they were saying about transitioning over to the new UI, actually, unless you've got custom elements, it seems fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I think it's easy. That's not what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying.
it's literally just like a
It's
couple of
just
modifiers.
yeah, but
But Patrick has like all the world's apps in
Yeah,
his
exactly,
one
yeah.
developer account.
I have
So what
too
you've got
many
to do
apps.
is have the same modifier on that tab bar done 28 times and resubmit it to the App Store.
That's a good point, to be fair, because if your app doesn't now look all glassy like the rest of the phone, it will be like, oh, what's
Yeah,
this?
I don't know
To be fair,
what.
this will be the first time that I will update my apps with the only info being optimized for iOS 26.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
that's
never
true.
used those kinds of updates before. So yeah,
So I think the biggest change, I was thinking about this when they announced it, because when you use this liquid glass operating system, the back button let's think about that for a second. So the back button
Mm.
before was literally like a chevron
Yeah,
and literally just the word back
back.
Yeah.
and nothing else. I always thought it just looked a bit dull. So
Yeah,
now it's got, I mean, that's a good point. So it obviously, when you're creating an app and it defaults that back button for you,
yeah.
Mm.
is the default back button liquid glass or is it
I would
chevron
hope so.
back? Yeah,
That's a
because it has to
good
be system
question.
default.
Yeah.
It'd have to be, yeah.
Yeah, I really hope it's not because I imagine how terrible. You've got this nice shiny liquid
Mm.
glass refracting the light or whatever words they use to describe it, and then the default in Xcode is still chevron back.
Yeah, that's true,
California
yeah.
font or whatever it is,
In
the San
blue.
Francisco font
In
in
blue,
blue.
in blue.
Yeah, it just looks a bit basic.
Oh, no, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. But then if it's part of the UI with liquid glass, they could potentially
It
show up other
must.
things. I don't
It
know.
must do. But then that's going to be weird as well because what if you do keep that because you think, oh, it looks nice, but now you've got other buttons in your app which are now going to
Mm.
look terrible. So,
Yeah.
Mm.
like in this new app I'm creating for later this year, it's got a back button and a home button. But
Yeah.
will the back button now be liquid glass and look all fancy? Now you've got this really like jewel of an element on screen, and the rest of it looks nothing like it, and will now look terrible. Oh, I've just opened a can of worms for myself
Potentially,
now.
potentially. Yes, I'm thinking as well.
Yeah.
If they change those, it's going to ruin
Yeah, because if
the
you
UI
have
wasn't great
default
already, but
iOS
Oh
buttons in your app,
crap! I
then the
yeah,
realized
rest of it,
they
yeah.
made that change on all devices. So it's not
yeah,
just my iPhone apps. I have to change my Mac apps. I have to change my watch apps. Oh
yeah, because you're going to
no!
have your design, and
Yeah.
if you use the default back button, which probably a lot of us do, that's
Mm.
going to
Yeah,
be liquid glass, and the rest of
yeah.
your app isn't.
Yeah. But you can't, like, if you don't update it, it won't change the default. Like, it will be the old default. You've got to resubmit it,
Oh,
I
okay.
Oh,
believe.
really?
I believe. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, your app, as soon as iOS 26 turns out, I don't think it just automatically changes to liquid glass. I think, from what I was reading anyway, I'm pretty sure you've got to
But if the default
resubmit
like
it.
back button is just using code that says use the default back, and the new default is something else, will it use liquid glass?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think you have to change. Maybe. Hang on a sec. I don't want to do this wrong.
If that's the case, the app will still look unison, but
Yeah,
it will look dated.
Yeah,
yeah,
it'd be like having skeuomorphism in iOS 7. There must have been a transition period there as well. I'm going off on a
I'm
tangent
pretty
now, but
sure.
imagine that must have
No,
been
there
wild
would
when
be
that came
some
out.
that there must be some sort of because from what I remember on watching on the keynote, it was that you had to apply a modifier to it.
To allow it to use liquid glass elements.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
I'm
that's
guessing the reason is because obviously there's quite a few, like for example, like in mine. Okay, so in I've got standard elements that I use, but if it all switched to liquid glass, potentially I don't know how that would look. It would potentially break the app in just the way that it lays out and the way it looks. So I think they want you to deliberately to go in as a developer, look at it, try it out in the preview and testing and stuff, and then if it works, it works. If not, there's going to have to be a custom way around it.
yeah.
I guess
And
so.
maybe you have to add that modifier now, and then like later on, it just becomes the
Mm.
norm, so you don't have to add the modifier. That's interesting. Oh, I want to download it now just to find out these little things. I just want to see what the back button does.
I have a
Mm.
question for you, Jake, that has been using the beta for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Um, the Photos app, is it better?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes, it
Yes.
is. So I could see that they wanted to change it, but they got a lot of pushback, as everyone knows, in iOS 18. Yeah, it was a good decision. You kind of got best of both now.
All right.
So you've got like the default view is what you would normally expect, and then you can swap it to like more of a view that it was with your collections. things like that, where there's just two buttons down the bottom. So you
All
can
right.
you can view all your photos, and you normally would, and then you can you switch the other button, and it kind of goes back to the way it was akin to iOS 18. Um, yeah, it's just so much simpler. Um,
Yeah. Sounds
which
nice.
is what you want. Yeah, if you want to look at a photo, if you want to find a photo, you click on the photo. To be honest, though, this kind of goes back to our talk about Spotlight search, because you can now search for people or things in
Ah.
photos because of the intelligence that's now on the device. So I've actually started to find myself, instead of clicking on it, I had to find my driving license earlier, for example. Now I know I've got a picture of it. So instead of going through my photos and looking for my driving license, I just Spotlight search driving license, and it comes up.
Ta-da.
Or you can
Yeah,
search in
fair.
photos and it comes
Nice.
up. So yeah, now even that kind of structure for photos is becoming irrelevant with the intelligence, because you can just say, I don't know, show me the picture of the driving license, and it'll come up,
Mm.
which is decent. But yes, no, yeah, photos are a welcome return to the old form.
Yeah, that's cool. It does look a lot better. And as a bit of a backtrack, apparently, if Grok is correct, it doesn't standard apps will just embrace liquid glass straight away. But if you've made an app, it doesn't,
Okay.
because um, this automatic application may not fully optimize the design of your app specific needs and could lead to suboptimal visuals, like clashing styles or reduced readability. So you have to apply in Swift UI, you have to use like dot background dot material, or glass like dot background, sorry, dot glass background effect
All
modify
right.
like on your view.
Is that on every element that you
View
wish
them.
to use it on, then I guess? You
Uh
can't just like apply it
oh
to
no, it
every.
depends. This is applying it to all sorts. I mean, this is giving the example of like a VStack with text, and then on that has got a modifier saying background material and sorry, dot glass of background effect as well.
So it must be applying it to anything that's within that VStack.
Yeah, I guess
Or
so.
is it
So
applying it
you
to the
can,
VStack itself? I mean, that would be
in this
weird.
example, it is, but again,
Hmm.
maybe this is hallucinating a bit, or that is
Hmm.
true, and it's thinking that I'm just talking generally about the whole thing. So basically, you had a potential to a challenge for one of you guys just to make a completely glass app.
Oh, that would be
Like
fun.
everything's glass.
What would that
Like when
even
you don't,
be?
I know, yeah. When you open it, you wouldn't even know that it's open, would you? You'd still see the home screen.
I'll tell you what, I
That would
saw.
actually be cool for games where you can, like, if you could open your app and it doesn't show that it's like open, more than kind of blurry,
Mm.
and then you can
You just
present
see like the white text.
graphical elements on top of it so that
Yeah.
moves around.
Oh
It's
man, yeah,
like
if you could get a
where's
guy,
Wally for every element.
that'd be a way of doing it, wouldn't it? Dear me. Okay, yeah,
I
apparently
saw
so.
um I saw something on X the other day. Still feels weird calling it that.
Yeah.
Someone had made like a mirror finish modifier to a button. Did you guys see this on X?
No.
No.
It was one of the craziest graphical things I've ever seen. So I don't know, I can't remember who it was, so apologies, but I'll see if I can find it. They made a mirror effect. And obviously a mirror is a reflection. So they're using
Yeah.
the front-facing camera on
Okay, yeah.
to add, oh, and with this kind of liquid glass effect, but on a mirror, so it sort of adjusts and skews your camera feed, but it's in the button. And when you move it around, obviously it can see you, and it looks exactly like a
Okay.
mirror. It's really weird. So UI
Interesting.
elements in their app were
Mm.
reflective of you looking at it.
Mm.
It was insane. So shout out to whoever that was. That was
Yeah.
saw that.
That's clever. Yeah, we have to find out who that is. Yeah,
Is it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
that's
that
me,
very
was.
clever.
or the last thing I want to see if I launch an app is my ugly mug?
Well,
I mean, that would
Yeah, but
be.
when
I
you
mean,
when you
yeah.
make
I
that
guess
app,
if
you're doing
you're
it for their face. They don't want to see your face every time, are they?
that would be
That would
even
be
more
that would be
impressive.
strange. So what you've
That
got
would
is
be amazing.
that would be a thing. Face swap them with you. That's
Yeah. I wish I favorited it now. It was sick. There it
brilliant.
was.
So
Yeah,
there was a couple
yeah,
more things. The biggest thing I thought as well, set aside second from Spotlight, obviously, is the iPad because it's kind of funny. I was talking with, I think it was just my wife. Oh, just my wife. It was with my wife. Sorry, I was thinking I'm doing like other developers. It's not. So it wasn't someone who's in development, but I was just talking about her iPad and just like the upgrade and stuff. I'm just saying
Mm.
like it just no, we're getting to the point now where if you want to buy another iPad Pro, well, it's more expensive than an iPad, like than MacBook Air. Like
yeah. I
to
guess.
make the
Yeah,
Yeah,
choice now of what you're getting at. And to be fair, the iPad Pros are hitting MacBook Pro pricing,
yeah,
and it's just like
yeah.
you really. What are you getting now? Like to be able to make that concession between the two. So I didn't know what they were going to do. This whole idea of that you can use it as an iPad or you can then transition it into effectively a Mac
yeah.
was brilliant. And it's funny because I was when I watched it, I went to a co-working space and there was about I want to say 30 people there. And it was kind of funny when that came up, nearly all of them just sighed. They were just like, oh, what is
Really?
this? Yeah. And I genuinely was surprised. I was just like, am I the only one in the room that just thinks this is a brilliant idea? Because I get it. And like, you've just turned an iPad into a Mac. We already have a Mac. But I was
Mm.
just like, there's that user out there who has to choose between an iPad or a Mac and then now can go, actually, yeah, I'm going to get the iPad because I need to have the touch screen. I want to carry it around with me and all of this jazz. But also, I want to sit it on a desk and I need to do some work. Like I could really do with a mouse.
It's a weird
Yeah, but
time, really.
the iPad will also become a MacBook with a touch screen.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Effectively, yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can get the basically a Mac keyboard and mouse as a
Yeah,
case for the iPad,
Mm.
and it's got mouse support as well, or Bluetooth keyboard if you want to. There's this weird time at the moment where it's kind of Apple are like teasing the iPad is basically being a Mac.
I'm
Mm.
kind of ready already.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's the thing. So it's kind of like they don't want to. It's like they're constantly teetering on the edge of
Mm.
mixing these two devices,
Yeah,
but they don't. And are they not because? I mean, if they made the iPad even more of a Mac, it would cannibalize on Mac sales. Surely it would. And
Yeah, I
if
think.
they added touchscreen to a Mac and made the screen maybe go all the way back, would that then cannibalize on iPad sales? So they kind of got this
Mm.
weird back and forth between the two. We're like, oh, don't get too close to that one. Oh, don't get too close
yeah,
Mm.
to that one. And now there's two devices that, to be honest, really just need to do this.
Mm.
yeah.
But it would
Yeah,
eliminate
potentially.
one product. That's, I think, the problem.
But
Mm.
now that the pricing is being kind of equalized between them, do
Mm.
they really care if
Yeah,
they sell X or Y?
Mm.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I would buy an iPad Pro, the largest one you could get, with a case that was the keyboard,
Yeah,
if I could run Xcode on it.
yeah,
Yeah. That's the big divider now. So on the
yeah,
developer side of things,
yeah,
that's a huge thing. If you can't, and it's powerful enough to do it.
yeah,
Like, there's
Yeah,
no
because it
reason
has its own
why.
chips and stuff like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
It would essentially be a MacBook Air.
yeah.
Mm.
I want to add to that actually, because that is one thing that I wish for every single WWDC. I want playgrounds on my phone. Please give me
Mm.
playground on my phone.
Yeah,
I want
Mm.
to
because
code on the
you're out and
go.
about, you get an idea, you want to start
Yeah,
Mm.
writing it down
I mean,
in code, or try it out at least, and
yeah,
you
Mm.
can't because you're not taking your Mac to like the park. Not most
Yeah,
of the
exactly.
time,
Mm.
you know. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
I
Yeah,
If
that's
I
it can
just
run
interesting.
want
it.
that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Although Playground, I haven't played around with it because I personally don't have an iPad, but um, I know that Playground is quite powerful on the Mac, on the sorry, on
Oh
the
yeah,
iPad. I've
it
known that
is. It
I've
is.
seen a few YouTube videos of people like, oh, I've coded an app using Playground on iPad.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
So it can be done. This is the thing. I mean, people want it, but I think it's obviously because, if they add Xcode to iPad, it would cannibalize on Mac sales
yeah,
probably quite a lot.
Yeah, potentially.
But then is that such a bad thing? Because if they are getting to the same price, what difference does
yeah.
it make?
Mm.
Is it because they don't want to let go of the Mac, or they don't want to let go of the iPad in their individual states? It's
I th
weird.
I
Yeah,
think they do have a particular market, don't they? And
Hmm.
like for me, I don't I don't have an appeal to go and get an iPad, even though I know it's very capable. Like if I was looking for my next computer Apple product, I the iPad would be down my list in comparison to a MacBook still,
Yeah.
even though they're just something about a MacBook. Maybe it's the things that you mentioned. Maybe it's those devices things, but just generally I would be like, I'd be looking for a MacBook.
yeah,
But maybe, I don't know. Yeah, yeah. I think it is two different markets, but
But is the thing holding an iPad back from just being a MacBook simply the software?
now
Because
when we
yeah,
get
almost.
the iPad OS 26 and we get the Windows support and stuff like that, yeah, it will be the software.
Mm.
yeah, I mean,
Because the
what's
iPad
the
will
difference?
it will be like a computer. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
not
I mean, compare it
much.
to the MacBook Air. What actually is the difference at this point? Because you've got a keyboard, you've got mouse support, you've got Windows. If anything, it's just a MacBook Air with a touchscreen, which is also something that a lot of people actually want.
yeah,
Yeah, it's very true.
So it's kind of like they're just like teetering on this. We could do that, but no.
Yeah.
And it's
exactly.
kind of like, why? I kind of get it. I can't get my own head around it. It's weird. It's like they're both going in that direction really slowly. Adding Windows support to iPad OS 26 is great. Everyone wanted it. Greg even said in the keynote, that everyone's been asking for this.
Mm.
Well, what are you taking the plunge, or are you just dipping your toe in? Like, what's the plan here? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? iPad. So we got Pro 13-inch has the M4 chip, 10 core CPU, GPU, and 16 euro engine.
And that's the iPad.
Whereas that's the iPad. Whereas the I, iPad Air, let's go with iPad Air, shall we? See what we got. So the base model iPad Air has has actually 10 core CPU on the M4 chip and 8 core GPU. So that's two cores less than the iPad Pro and a 16 gig unified memory, which is, oh, hang on. That's not the same as the Neural Engine, is it?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the RAM seems because it doesn't display RAM on the iPad, does it? Well, I can't see it
I
here.
don't think they advertise the RAM. You can find
They
out as
don't.
third parties find out what it is, but they don't
Yeah,
actually advertise it.
Yeah, so okay, f forget the RAM for the moment. Let's presume it's the same. But the iPad actually has two extra cores for a GPU, and everything else is the same.
What's the price difference though? That's the thing, isn't it?
yeah,
Because
So a
the iPad would probably be
13,
a lot more expensive.
yes, it is. So I've got American pricing for some reason. Why have I got American pricing? Could it be because I'm on America?
Are you in America?
I'm not in America right now.
Not right now. This is the thing though. Like
And
I would happily just use an iPad. It doesn't have Xcode on it, so I won't. But if it
yeah,
did,
exactly.
before I was a developer, many moons ago, I didn't have a laptop or
Mm,
a computer in any way. I literally just had my phone and my iPad because I had a keyboard for my iPad.
mm.
I don't game on a PC or a computer or anything, so I had no reason to use one until I became a developer.
Okay, right. So the base, the base model, right? That's interesting. So if you upgrade, let's just try and get it on an equal keel here. So the 10 core GPU CPU version of the MacBook Air,
Mm.
13 inch. So everything's equal at the moment for you've just got extra storage, and that's the same price as the base model MacBook Pro. MacBook Pro. What am I talking about? iPad Pro. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
It's the same price.
it's the same price. It's just more data on the the MacBook is just slightly cheaper than the iPad, depending on the storage bracket that you're going up.
Mm. So that feels weird that you're getting a MacBook and the more expensive product is the iPad. But the
Yeah.
iPad can't do as much because it's an iPad. But not
Yeah.
because it can't, because they choose for it not to.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But it
Okay.
kind of yeah, but then also it all goes in a different direction because you have like the pencil on the iPad, you have its own
All right.
signal 5G if you wanted to, kind of, and all that sort of stuff,
That's true. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, if you buy
which you
the
don't.
cellular version,
Yeah, which you don't on the actual.
well, that's true as well. You can't even get a cellular Mac, can you? Or can you?
No, no.
No.
So even that trumps it.
Mm,
I could be in the middle of a field and I could push the Git on an iPad
yes.
if it had Xcode on it.
Yeah. All we need is Xcode on iPad, and we're set.
Yeah,
Yeah. Comment down
that's
below
true.
if you also want Xcode
Do
on
you want
iPad.
do you want to push the Git in a field?
Or comment down below on your thoughts on why you think Apple are kind of holding these two back from each other. Like it's kind of like they
Hmm.
want to go at each other, but they're holding them back.
Yeah,
Why? There
so
must be a
meshing
reason, but
into it.
I don't
Yeah.
really know. Maybe it's because there's a generation of people who prefer Mac for some reason and have the solid, it's connected.
Mm,
I don't know, but maybe you've got a whole generation of like iPad kids who
yeah.
want to use the iPad. I know
Mm.
someone who works in the school, and well, obviously Patrick, but
Yeah.
the kids, the kids. He was telling me, this is another friend of mine. He works in the school. They didn't know how to use a keyboard because they used an iPad their
I've
whole
heard
lives.
this. I've heard this from someone else. Yeah.
Yeah, the kids didn't know what
Mm,
to do. He was saying, type in your username. And he was, had a keyboard out. And this was a desktop. So he had a screen, he had a keyboard and mouse. He's
mm,
typing your username. He works in IT. And the kid said, well, how? The screen doesn't. I can't touch the screen. He genuinely just didn't think, So maybe they're just waiting, I don't know, for these kids to become
mm.
developers and then maybe they'll switch towards it then. I don't know. Maybe
In
Maybe.
we're wrong.
Sweden, we use iPads for the lower grades and real computers for the higher grades. Unfortunately, not MacBooks often.
Mm.
Mm.
But yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah. So
in
yeah,
Wow,
I mean,
Sweden,
they're growing
that's
up,
interesting.
and they might prefer to carry on using iPads,
Mm,
if it
yeah.
had the same technology that the laptops had. And they can easily run it. It's just, it's strange. It's like putting a Ferrari engine in a Ferrari and another car that could also handle the same speed, but setting a speed limiter on the other one for
Yeah.
seemingly no reason at all. So
yeah.
you got your fancy Ferrari, yeah, get
Mm,
Ferrari, it's fast. This one can do the same speed, we're just not letting you.
mm.
And it's like, okay, why though?
You can only
And
drive on
it,
certain types of roads, I think, is a good illustration of that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's got the same tires, but we're just not letting you do it on this one. It just seems
Yeah.
strange. And this iPad OS 26
Mm,
bringing in this window capability. It's like, well, wait, are you going further with this? Like, is
mm.
this happening? Or it's like, where's the line here? Because you're allowing us to do it, but you're also not. You're allowing
Yeah.
us to have Windows, but you're not giving us Xcode. It's
Mhm.
just a little bit like we've had our main. Can we have our pudding now, please? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be a future update. I think they're gonna push this further next,
Well,
like I said, with all these other bits, they sort
yeah.
of they layer it, little things, and then next year you'll see, oh yeah, okay, they were doing this.
Well, there's rumors that they're working on a touchscreen MacBook. That's
Really,
just going to get a hell of a lot more confusing. And a foldable iPad.
Oh
So
no.
one side might be a
that
All
would be
keyboard.
right.
that would be a
Apple
mistake.
will go foldable sooner or later as well. Oh
Yeah,
But they're
no.
definitely making that foldable phone. Oh, it's really good
Oh no.
that they are.
I think
But
that you'll find no progress on that very quickly because it seems like of all the foldable stuff that I've seen, there's so many issues with it.
Yeah, but
There's
yeah,
people
just a
love
lot.
them.
people do
Yeah,
like
but
them. It's
people like them, but they're not as popular as a normal phone yet. Like, there's a reason. It's just the thickness of them, and the screen dimensions, and just there's
Yeah.
something about them that the idea of them is so perfect. Yeah, it's true, but there's
there've been
something about it.
some of the Android foldables have been really because they've been getting really thin as well
Yeah.
lately.
Mm.
And they look impressive. I mean, I would buy a foldable phone, a foldable iPhone, and if the iPhone folded out into an iPad. I wouldn't buy a foldable iPhone if the iPhone folded in half. Because
Mm.
where's the practicality in that? Like
Yeah.
Mm.
if it folds out into an iPad, I've got an iPad as well. If it
Mm.
folds like the Samsung Flip, if it folds in half, well, I don't have another device now. Like what's the point? It's just now it's just thicker in my pocket.
I mean,
There's no
uh,
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
but that
that's it.
kind
Yeah.
of if
but
they make it thin and
having
they
this brick in the pocket, I mean, come on.
yeah. But like if they made it super thin, and like, I know we're going on a tangent now, it's not really about dub dub, but
Mm.
if they made a like the phone version where the phone goes out into an iPad and maybe that going to
Mm.
run Xcode, that would be absolutely mind blowingly insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, not the clamshell one. I don't really see the purpose of that. It's just kind of like you're folding it in half, and now you have to open it to see stuff. And it's
If
got a
they
Yeah,
screen
give
on the
yeah.
other
me
There's
side.
nothing
a foldable iPhone that runs Xcode, then they are forgiven. I will get a foldable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're never getting that. Can you imagine
Well,
the world? Can you imagine how advanced
hopefully.
the world would be if we had an Xcode on iPhone Fold?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm
yeah.
hoping we play this video in like 10 years' time and I eat my hat because that's what I'm watching this video on. No, that won't. Surely not, but that'd be
No, I don't
cool.
think you're going to
Oh,
see that. I think the whole foldable thing is a bit of a fad. It's going to go out. I think.
yeah, I think
I
so
think
too.
it was a clever idea. The idea that you can, oh look, I can double the size of this thing, and
Yeah,
look, my glass can be bendable, so I can do this. That's incredible. And technically, it's amazing. But
yeah. I'm more
I
excited
just
about
don't get it. I'm
whatever
sure
Johnny
I'm.
Ive's working on right now. With
Mm,
you see that video with Johnny Ive and OpenAI?
yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he was totally wearing
Be
some sort of
interesting.
special glasses during that whole thing. He's going to be like, "Ha! I was wearing it the whole time, and nobody noticed."
I think that was baiting a bit.
Do you?
Yeah, I think that was baiting. Yeah, the people doing the same thing with what's his face, wasn't it? So the guy who was introducing Apple Glass, liquid glass, he
Mm.
was wearing some particularly thick glasses, and there
Yeah,
was a few people that were bringing up screenshots of that, going, "Ah, look, he's got the glasses on the thing."
yeah,
That's the
yeah.
thing. Everyone's trying to get talk about his glasses.
I don't know. I was trying to think because I think we were having a conversation on Twitter and a couple of people joining in about
Mm,
what Johnny's going to announce, and I don't know. I couldn't think of anything else other. It's not a phone that would
mm.
be anything other than glasses.
Yeah, I think that's the
Someone said
next
earrings.
stage, isn't it? Earrings.
Yeah, someone said earrings. I can't remember who it was, but
Mm,
yeah. But all
yeah.
right, back to back to Dub Dub. We could talk for ages about all this crazy stuff.
Oh man, this will keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what else I enjoyed. It was a feature I didn't think I would enjoy, which was iMessage backgrounds. I actually really enjoy
Okay.
it
Oh yeah, you have tried
because
that.
Mm,
yeah, to be honest, I mean you've got it in like Facebook Messenger, you've got it in WhatsApp, so
mm.
it kind of feels like
Yeah.
it should be there. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
nice that it is. We obviously us being in Europe, we don't really use iMessage group chats that much. We all
No.
mainly
No,
use WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I
Um,
I've never used WhatsApp.
really?
Really?
Yeah.
Is that not like a big thing in Sweden?
No, not at all.
If you're going to message
Yeah,
That's
somebody,
yeah,
who do
sure.
you
crazy.
If
use?
you use an Android, yes, but not if you're on
Really?
iPhone.
But do
Would you
you use
use
iMessage?
iMessage?
iMessage
Wow,
or
that's
Okay, right,
Messenger.
surprising.
okay.
Facebook Messenger is quite big as well.
I
Okay,
wish
so
we
it's
used
a
iMessage more.
UK thing. Yeah. Oh, it's a
Maybe,
UK
yeah,
thing.
because even though like all of my family is on iPhone,
Hmm.
we use WhatsApp.
Hmm.
Yeah, everyone
Like all
uses
of my
WhatsApp.
friends, actually, most of my friends are actually on Android. But
Hmm.
WhatsApp, yeah.
Oh
Hmm.
no, we
WhatsApp's
use
the thing, yeah.
iMessage for mainly
This
everything.
is
Interesting.
why, like in the UK, like no one really cared about RCS because it was like,
Hmm.
yeah, we use WhatsApp, whatever.
Hmm.
So it's not nice to have, yeah, sure, but like maybe that
Yeah,
was for other countries. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that
maybe
actually
then,
really
yeah.
surprised me. I thought it was pretty much all of Europe just uses WhatsApp.
Nope.
I tried to
Okay.
get everyone to switch to Signal, but because people were on Android at the time, and I was like, well, I'd rather use iMessage because it's more secure. WhatsApp's owned by Meta, so it's a little bit, you know. Uh,
Ooh.
so yeah, no
Mm.
one went for it. But yeah, iMessage chat. It was good, and it was the first
Yeah.
time I actually found image playgrounds useful because you can use image playgrounds to create a background for your chat.
Hmm.
Yes, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've
Mm.
been pretty disappointed to be honest with image playgrounds, and I think that's probably a universal feeling. I don't
Yes, yeah, that's
really
fair, mate.
get what I would use it for. I don't
Hmm.
really care about making a cartoon version of myself, other than for like maybe a fun image here
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there,
You're
but
going to do
not
that
like.
once every 10 months, like
Yeah, but
if
like
that.
I would use like ChatGPT and Gemini have really good image creation. So you can actually create
Mm.
like actual images. Whereas I found that Image Playground was always like, oh, it has to be based on one of these people you have in your contacts list or
Yeah.
yourself. And then, and it's like,
Mm.
well,
It was a bit
I've got
cartoony and wacky.
yeah, it's like we've got Memoji and
Mm.
that was fun for a while, but like this is even not as useful as that. It was just, I
Mm.
can create it, but it takes a while. It's not really what I wanted. It's like a portrait photo and nothing else. Yeah, but this is actually a really good use for it because
Mm.
I found that it's still quite limited. It mainly has like the wallpaper and then like something in the bottom right, and then like something's like
Okay.
the focus in the bottom right of the image, and then everything else is kind of background and blurred. I don't really know why it
Okay.
does that. I don't know if it's a bug or if it's like they've designed it that way. So
Don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe when it
every
gets out of beta,
yeah,
you'll see.
maybe. But
Interesting.
yeah,
But yeah,
I'm
yeah.
there for it.
Yeah, man, it's cool. Those little updates are great. So this is maybe where the cynical Englishman comes out in me too much. But I thought all of the stuff they announced was good. But that was one, and there was one more, and I was just like, this is kind of cool. It's okay, but I'm put off by how enthusiastic you're being by this. And it was the background chat and the ability to customize the look of folders, where you could change the color and put an icon on it. And I was just like, that's cool. Okay, I can see, yeah, you want to change the color so it distinguishes, but you're being so enthusiastic about we can change the colors of these folders now. Look at this amazing feature we've brought to your Mac. It's like, I've
Yeah,
spent thousands on a Mac, and you can just tell me that I can change colors on the thing. You're
yeah,
presenting it to me like you've just revolutionized my world. And I don't I'm sure it might be just a cultural gap in that I'm English and you're American, and you just generally have more enthusiasm to everything than the cynicalness that I do. But still, I can't hack this much energy coming at me of going, I can now put an image in the background and I can change this color.
I
Like,
was like, why?
yeah.
Why?
I completely agree. To be honest,
I had one more of those during WWDC. The new games app. I was like,
mm,
why?
yeah,
mm,
because
Why?
there's still games in the App Store.
Yeah,
mm,
So now I've got another place where I can look for the same games
yeah.
again.
But this is
Although
another
that
one of
was,
those like push and pull moments because, like, all right, you've made the games app. Are you not going to announce like a AAA title at the same time as announcing the
Yeah.
Games app. You're talking about, Mac and iOS a little bit becoming this, their focus on gaming a little bit more.
Yeah.
Mm.
But all you did was you copied and pasted what was in. There's other features too, right? Like little
Yeah,
things.
but
Mm.
And uh,
realistically, copy
yeah,
pasted the game section of App Store
Mm.
to Games app.
yeah.
Yeah.
What they
Yay!
should have done is we've introduced the Games app, and GTA 6 will come out on, I mean,
Mm.
probably not on iPhone, but on a
Yeah, yeah.
Mac. They could have said, and it will be exclusive, and all this stuff. You get a special thing or something. But on the Games app on Mac OS in 2026 when GTA 6 is going, they
Mm.
could have done something. But yeah, no, I forgot that was even on there.
Yeah,
Like
no,
I
to
was
be
just
fair,
like,
until
great,
you said it, I forgot about that. Yeah. Although I like the way that you can, I know they had to change Game Center because Game Center was one of those ones that wasn't very well put together. The idea was nice, but that Games app,
yeah,
I agree with what you're saying, but I agree that it needed an upgrade to have like your friends on it and all these sort of things. But this does
yeah,
link to one thing that I've been hoping for a long time and still isn't here yet. And I think um Hacking with Swift mentioned this actually as well. I don't know if you saw his post on X, and he probably did it on the other socials as well. Just that they depreciated SceneKit, which was closely associated to SpriteKit.
Yeah, I
And
saw that.
yeah,
SpriteKit
That is
is
so
like,
bad.
yeah,
I,
and it's like
I
I
want it to live
understand.
on, or I want a
Yeah.
replacement, a more
Yes, yeah, this is
capable
what I'm saying. It's
replacement.
just they're very focused on games right now, and this is great because one of the things that Windows does that Macs don't is run pretty much every game.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it would be amazing to have something where you can create games natively.
yeah,
And
yeah,
SpriteKit was the way that you do that, but you just can't. Yeah, and it was
yeah.
just disappointing because that was one of the things that I wanted to do. That was originally why I started learning any sort of code at all. Was like I wanted to make a game. That would be cool. And obviously I haven't got around to it because I started learning stuff and got into other things. But to take that was the thing that was like Sprite Kit is there. You learn Sprite Kit and you can make a game. A little bit in an old-fashioned way, but you can make it
yeah,
still. So to have an update, but I guess maybe because I know they're partnering with Unity a lot, and obviously Unreal Engine's
yeah.
there
But
as well. They're looking at that as being maybe the third party is the one that gives you the platform that makes these things, which is a shame
yes,
because it you want to run it natively if you could have that opportunity. But then I guess being realistic, if you're genuinely making a game, like I'm not at the moment, if you were making a game and you can do it in something like Unity or Unreal, and then it's already there for you to post onto Windows. And if you were going to go down the console route, again, you can do it through their software. And it does make
Do you reckon it's
sense to do it
because
that way.
they're like focusing on bringing existing game developers
Mm,
to iOS rather than making iOS developers into game developers? Do you reckon
yeah, yeah.
that could be why? So they're kind of like abandoning that latter part where, well, not abandoning, but they haven't updated it, and they're
Mm,
more focused on like converting, other game studios to running on iOS and bringing their technology in rather than developing their in-house stuff and
yeah.
letting existing developers, iOS developers, use that. Yeah, maybe
Mm,
that's why. But then
yeah, it
again,
makes
if they are
sense.
doing that, like, what have we got? We've got some impressive games on iOS.
Mm,
Death Stranding's on there. You got the
mm,
yeah,
new uh, Assassin's Creed on Mac, I believe. They
mm,
did release Assassin's Creed Mirage on iOS with the 15 Pro series. I have to say, though, I did download that game on iOS, and maybe they've improved it now, but it got to a point where it's just completely unplayable on
mm.
iOS. It was so bad that I ended up buying it anyway. So yay for Ubisoft. Um, I played it on console, but yeah, I was really looking forward to doing it on iOS, and then it was so glitchy and laggy that
Mm.
I gave up in the end. But yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I
that
think
wasn't
I
a
think
shame.
that I think that fits in with what you're saying though, that is games created elsewhere that they're now just importing into the Mac system, which yeah, is what you're going to do, isn't it? Because that's who's been making the industry.
Yeah, I mean that
Mm,
that that helps Apple in building on this gaming sort of side that they potentially are starting to poke at. But again, on the other side, it kind of not takes away but doesn't add to our ability as iOS developers to create better games.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it would definitely be a you just got to learn the new software. But it means you got to learn something else as well, probably C++ plus plus or something as well.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
biggest
essentially.
gripe with having to use Unity instead of a native way is that I
Mm.
have to use C sharp. And I don't
Yeah.
enjoy C sharp in the same way I enjoy writing Swift.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. That's a
So
different kind of yeah, it's a different kind of thing in it. It's a bit of a learning curve to do that. So,
yeah, I
but then
started
like you
out with
said,
C sharp
it's
before I started with iOS development. So I know
mm,
some, but I don't enjoy it. But not even
Yeah.
mm,
closely.
We've definitely
yeah.
been spoiled with Swift UI and things like that because
Yeah,
just the support from Apple. I tell you what, I learned pretty much everything I know initially through Paul Hudson and
yeah,
hacking with Swift, and he's so good that it makes everything else
Mm,
terrible. Because like if I
yeah,
wanted to learn something else, which I've tried, other languages and things like that, if it's not Paul teaching me how to do it, I just can't do it. He's,
mm,
he's got away. So we're so spoilt with Swiss UI and Apple support and their documentation and how user friendly they really make Swift UI. If you really think about it, I mean,
yeah,
in terms of code compared to other code, it's quite user friendly to write. Um, but with other code, I mean, I tried writing for Android, and I'm sure there's obviously a lot of people who are great at doing that. But I tried it, and because I've been so spoiled by Swift UI and Apple and hacking with Swift, I just, yeah, I was like, what is this? There's no way I could probably understand it if Paul told me it, but,
mm,
I can't. But yeah, no, it's a
yeah.
shame they're not building on the gaming side of, in-house gaming technology at Apple. I mean, obviously they're working with ray tracing and things like that. They are working on it internally, but in terms of what we can do,
Mm.
yeah, not so much.
Yeah, no, it's a shame. But yeah, it makes sense at the same time.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, so it's been an interesting period. It'll be interesting to see what happens to it over the next year, especially when the
Mm.
betas are all done. We got the official one and the new phone potentially, because they didn't mention anything about a new phone this time around. So I presume there'll be another event coming up between now and September.
I'm hoping to get back that snappy, responsive feeling that iOS usually brings, because iOS 18 hasn't been good to me at all.
Mm.
Even
All
iOS
right.
7, I mean, it's been kind of laggy for a while,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I
Mm.
didn't have nearly as much trouble and lagginess on iOS 17. 18 has been really bad. For instance,
Mm.
every time I try to back from iMessage conversation, I drag and then I wait, and then
Oh,
and
really?
I'm like,
Wow.
it didn't used to be like this. Come on,
Yeah.
Mm.
why?
I think it's got to the point where like it's become so complex, the code,
Yeah,
that it's not unfixable, but you'd have to like really clear stuff out or
yeah,
start again from scratch in a new way
Mm.
to actually fix this stuff. I feel like they've got old code and I don't know this, and I apologize to any Apple developers if I'm incorrect here, but it feels like stuff's just been adding on,
Mm.
and which is fine up to a certain point, but it's got to a certain point where they're so complex, everything in these
Mm.
devices, they've got layers and layers and features on features and all this stuff that they're just sort of, they're not mixing well.
It'd be a lot of tech debt and all in stacked up in that. But hopefully, with the new
Yeah,
operating system, they've torn a lot of that out and then been able to, yeah,
yeah.
fix it,
I mean, hopefully. I
refine
mean,
it.
it's beta one right now with iOS is beta one, as you would expect. It has bugs,
yeah.
but
Mm.
there's certain bugs. What was the other bug? I said literally the other day, oh, they haven't fixed that one then. Oh, it's text messages. So the whole of iOS 18, if I write a text message and I press send, it doesn't do anything. It just does nothing. I don't know if you've had the same bug, where I have to then go out of the
No.
chat, go back into the chat, and now I can press send for some reason.
Oh, right. No, I haven't had that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just loads of bugs. I started making a list I've submitted them to Apple, of course,
Yeah.
through the
Mm.
feedback app. But even just little things like I'm driving and my current car doesn't have CarPlay, my new one will. So I'm
Mm.
using SatNav in the car. But if I get a reminder, it covers the direction, like the upcoming directions. But because it's a time sensitive reminder, it doesn't disappear. So I'm driving along. I don't know how far it is until my next exit. And I'm just like, well, now I've got to lean over in my car and swipe away the reminder, which is not safe, just so I can see the map. You'd think, I'm on the map, maybe don't cover the map, or at least
Oh
do it
man.
for like a minute, but then, go away. Things like this is the best one. So I've got a fan that has a smart plug attached to it. If I say
Mm.
the voice command, uh, and I say turn the fan off in 20 minutes, it has no idea what I'm talking about. But if I say in 20 minutes turn the fan off, that's no problem at all.
Oh
It's just
wow.
little things.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that will come up, with the Apple Intelligence stuff later on.
Oh.
Siri. Speaking of one bug in Siri is probably going to open a whole can of worms into a whole load of other stuff. But yeah, that
Well,
one I
yeah,
find
that's true.
particularly quite entertaining. Yeah,
That's funny, isn't it?
yeah.
I've never
I
had
do
any of
feel for the Apple
those, but
developers.
mm.
Do
Yeah,
you usually use Siri? Because
do I
I haven't.
Mm.
In Sweden,
all the
Siri
time.
is totally worthless.
Mm.
It's not much better here, to be fair, but I use it. I use it a lot. Actually. I use it
Mm.
but I try and use it for basic stuff if I can. I tell you that there is one thing with iOS 26. I don't know if it's new or not, though. I don't know if this was in iOS 18. But if I ask Siri something now, it will just go and get the answer from ChatGPT without me asking it to go to ChatGPT,
Okay.
which is really good because I wanted ChatGPT as my assistant,
Mm.
really, because it's great, or any other provider as well, to be honest.
Hmm.
But now, if I ask my phone a question, it doesn't say, "Would you like me to get that from ChatGPT?" And then it takes a whole nother thing to load. It just does it.
Okay, that's
Um,
good.
yeah, it's a set. I think there was a setting I changed within settings. I couldn't remember if it was there in iOS 18 or not. So if it was there in iOS 18, then find it and use it. But in iOS 26, you can tell it not to ask you every time if you want it to use ChatGPT. I remember Craig
Mm.
specifically speaking about it, saying anything that goes to ChatGPT will always ask you if you want it to do so first. And that was the kind of privacy reassurance to customers at last year's Dub Dub. But
Mm.
yeah, unless that toggle's been there the whole time, I haven't noticed it. But yeah, I've turned it off. So now when I ask it something, it kind of makes Apple Intelligence a lot better because I'll ask something, it'll actually give me an answer rather than say searching the web or do you want me to ask ChatGPT?
Yeah, okay.
So
No,
yeah,
fair enough.
yeah. But
Yeah.
Siri, yeah, I use a lot. So I'm looking forward to much better things.
I'm looking
Mm.
forward
Siri.
to getting a version of Siri that I can use it all.
Well, yeah.
I actually did the opposite. I opened my Chat GPT app. I started
Mm.
asking Chat GPT stuff instead because
Mm.
I got better answers.
I mean, that's what I
Mm.
was doing. Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing until they integrated it with ChatGPT, which they do now. It was so frustrating that I had to go into ChatGPT first. And I know it's first world problems, and we're privileged to be able to use this technology,
Yeah,
but it was annoying. And now that if that's an iOS 26 change, then that's a win for Dub Dub this year because that actually makes a massive difference to people who use Siri a lot. And I do use
Mm.
it a lot. Check the weather or control smart devices at home or get directions, things like that.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
If it's working. Well, guys, this has been fun.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it has
catch up
been
on
good.
this. Yeah. Let's see if yeah, maybe do it again. Just have a catch up and
Yeah, yeah.
talk developer stuff. If there's something that there's yeah, have a discussion about. But yeah, it's all fun.
Yeah,
So
for
yeah,
sure.
I've
so
heard rumors about the new Dev Wars episode. When is that
there
coming
was
out?
yes, we will organize it, yeah, for sure. I'll have to message I have to go around cold DMing a bunch of people saying, can you please judge this bunch of people making an app? But yeah, we'll do it. I'm thinking over doing over because I know the last two ones we did it over a week,
Yeah.
and it was
Mm.
it was tight, and especially for me when I didn't finish either of them. Okay, so I'm thinking maybe like 2 weeks or
Yeah, I'm
something,
in.
like make it a bit
Yeah,
longer, make it a bit more
I'm
reasonable.
in. We could make this glass app we were talking about.
The glass, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That was going to
who
say
can make
make
the
one
glassiest
completely
app?
the glassiest that still functions somehow.
Yeah,
That does something. That would be a
that's a
challenge.
challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking of putting just a bunch of different suggestions in a pot, and then we'll have to pick. We'll have to pick from them.
I'll tell you
But
what, I'm still burned from that first episode. That app I made was awful. I remember at one point Michaela said when one of the challenges was to put animation or a couple animations in from Dev Wars episode one. Spoiler alert.
mm,
I think my animation was the worst animation ever. I think like a button faded out. So if you're wondering what Dev Wars is and you feel the desire to go watch episode one, that's not me at my bet. So watch
no, but
episode
yeah. Well,
two.
your second one was fantastic.
Yeah.
That whole stamp thing that you had on the app was brilliant.
Thanks, man. Yeah,
Yeah, that
that
was
was real
great.
fun. But the thing is, when it came to episode two, I was so burnt by episode one. I was like, I'm never, that's not, if I'm winning this challenge or
Mm.
I give up on development. I was like, I'm not having that again. Poor Michaela
Oh
probably
man,
had to smile through that first one, thinking, this is not good, but I
this
have to
is
be
terrible.
professional.
Yeah,
So thank you for doing that, Michaela, if you watch this episode. But
yeah.
it wasn't good. So you were way too polite.
But yeah, it
So
was good
Tom,
fun. We will organize more for sure. Go on.
I just sent you a link, an app in our group
Oh
chat.
right. Oh, did you?
Yeah, since you wanted something that could randomly select
I'm doing
something
it.
from
Oh, okay, cool.
everything.
Yeah,
It's a Swedish app developer named Patrick.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. We should have known that you made an app like this.
Yeah, it's called Randomize It. You can add anything and randomize it.
I
So
realize I haven't fully opened the app yet, but I have to say I'm disappointed by the lack of glass that I can see in the
yeah,
screenshot. But
Yeah,
yeah,
there's
no,
that
it
you
sounds
will
good.
be
that
you will be
classic.
happier once you open the app and realize that the little Jack in the Box dances when you move your phone.
Oh, dear,
Oh,
seriously.
that's pretty cool.
Yes.
That's such a cool effect. See, this is why you always make such great little, just those little things that you do. They're brilliant. That's cool, man.
And this is why it's so bad when you go up against Patrick when it comes to
I
Dev Wars.
know.
Because that's
It just has a,
animation, not fading a button out. What was I thinking?
oh, dear me.
Living egg.
Always. Guys,
Yeah,
it's been fun.
maybe a future episode.
Yeah, for sure.
You too,
We
man.
will be doing that.
Yeah.
And we'll speak. We'll be in contact in the group chat anyway. But yeah, we will organize something
Yeah.
more.
Yeah, of course. Sounds
Cool,
good.
guys. We'll speak to you later. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.